welcome to the 13th annual Fort Lauderdale edition of OUTshine. I'm Jen Kritz, the board vice chair, and we are excited to have the documentary Invisible Gay Women in Southern Music to show to you today. Please welcome TJ Parcell, the director, as well as three of the people interviewed on the film, Diane Davidson, Sydney Bullens, and Bonnie Baker. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thanks.
We're glad to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to have all of you. You know, this is a film that is very much following gay songwriters, particularly lesbian songwriters in Nashville, and the trials and tribulations associated with trying to be successful in an industry that is so formulaic. And one of the most interesting parts that hit me was how few chances they like to take in country music. And so why would you make, when you have to put so much investment in these artists, why would you take a chance on somebody who's gay, who may be, you know, a losing bet for you? That was such an interesting moment in this particular documentary. TJ, can you please tell us a little bit about how you personally got involved with this project?
Sure, Jen. I had just moved to Nashville when a friend of mine approached me who had relationships with many of the women who were in the film. And he said, TJ, I got this great idea, gay women in country music. There's this whole network of gay women singers, songwriters who have written for everybody. I think their stories would be really interesting. So I just looked at them, and God, within 2 or 3, well, I think it was 3 weeks to the date, I sat down and was doing my first interview with Mary Gaucher. The approach I had that I was deeply curious about was, how did these women navigate this industry that's not very welcoming to anyone who's different? So what was that like for them? What kind of choices did they have to make? What kind of compromises? What did that cost them? And I think from the first interview on, I was just riveted by their stories and in awe of their tenacity, and because ultimately every one of them succeeded, and their voices came through in spite of all these forces that wanted to stifle those voices.
I have so much respect for songwriters. I think a lot of people, at least among my peers, you'll hear, oh, this artist had a hit, but this is the person who wrote it. You know, and the first time that really hit me was when, I believe it was when Whitney Houston did so well with I Will Always Love You. And then you found out later it was written by Dolly Parton. Mm-hmm. And it's always been of so much interest to me. And I'm a musician. I don't know if you noticed my piano back here.
I love your piano.
But I brought this in for the show. But anyway, I've always just loved talking to songwriters, and I don't know if you're aware of this. I'm sure you are. I'm also a songwriter. I wrote a song when I was 10 years old, and then actually I found out later that it was already written when I heard it on the radio. My sister embarrassed me very much. So that was my foray into songwriting. But I have always been just so amazed. And I wanted to start actually because Bonnie, I love that you talked about how your family didn't let you listen to the radio. Am I right? And so you wrote your own music. What kind of a competitive advantage did that actually give you, having to create without having, having heard most of the music yourself?
Well, thanks first and foremost for having me this morning. It's just such a joy to be with you guys here. I read an Esther Perel quote the other day where she talked about that imagination is born inside of a closed space. And a lot of times if you have a lot of input, the output can be less because you're taking in information. So growing up in a household that we couldn't listen to the radio, I didn't have a television until well after 8, 9, 10 years old. So it literally was me and books and a piano. I had a, oops, this shoulder here. I had a Story and Clark. I had a Story and Clark in my house that's very close to this replica right here, that my parents bought for me when I was 5. And then I also lived next to the church because my father was a minister. And so literally I played music because, I needed to fill up my creative space and there wasn't a lot of input. So I believe also in making your weaknesses your strengths. And so I think that's why I started writing songs at an early age, is because, you just sit and play for hours, and it started to become these 3-minute songs. So, the lack of radio gave me an opportunity to kind of listen to the creativity within,
And you're such a prolific writer. You have written hit after hit after hit, and you never stopped.
I moved to Nashville in 1992. I already had a degree, a bachelor's degree, and I still try to write every day as much as possible. And I do some teaching now, but yes, my goal when I moved here was to have longevity and not just, we have a lot of people that kind of have a very meteoric rise and then a very meteoric descent. And I've always said that the trajectory of the up is the trajectory of the down. So I wanted a nice slow go so that I could have the sustainability. And my goal was to have songs in 4 decades. So the 90s was a first hit, 2000s, 2010, and now I'm ready to go the 2020s and make it the 4 decades.
Wow. Diane, you
Yes.
have such success. You started very, very young, and you just motored right through with success after success. And then you wrote your first lesbian song, and everything came to a halt. Can you tell us a little more about that and what that was truly like? Because you kind of retired from music for quite some time after that.
Yeah, it's you did a pretty good job covering what happened. From the time I was probably, for sure, by the time I was 9 or 10, I knew what I wanted to do. I was fortunate enough to be in a family that was supportive. I came from a musical medical family, so the only 2 avenues really that were acceptable was either be a starving artist or a very successful surgeon. So I don't know, I'm not sure I picked the right one, but anyway, it's sort of the minute I hit the ground running, and my thought was nothing's going to stop me, because just I believed in the possibilities, and I believed in my willingness and ability to learn. I certainly didn't think I was, all that great, but I knew that I had the capacity to learn from people who did know. And it's funny because Jess speaks to that in her segment where she said it was shocking, which is a great word when you realize that you've hit a wall that you're not going to find a door to get through that. There is no door to get through that. And even when you try to break down that wall, it's probably not going to happen, and you're going to wind up with a concussion, which I kind of did. And yes, I mean, once I always have said it kind of broke my heart. It didn't completely break my spirit because I still have it, but it definitely broke my heart that an industry that could be so supportive and so accepting and so appreciative could just suddenly turn their backs on you. And so it was very, very difficult. I'm glad that I laughingly was raised by a Marine and a tap dancer. So, I learned how I learned how to dance my way through adversity, and so I learned how to be strong on the other side. And I do believe that inner strength is what's kept me going all these years and helped me keep my sense of humor.
My favorite moment in the film is the moment where you're singing 60-Minute Man with Linda Ronstadt. And I think that is so emotional, of course, because Linda can no longer sing.
Right.
And the sweetness of Linda and the footage that they have, and to see someone who is such a staple in country music, so loving towards you, so accepting towards you. And it's kind of, it struck me on every level right there, because it seems that the people you worked with all loved you guys. And yet there was this upper industry that was trying to keep things hidden. Can you speak a little more about your experiences with that?
With which? With Linda or with the industry?
With working with people like Linda, who, seemed to always be so loving and accepting and didn't care really that you were gay.
Well, it's interesting. I've always said if we could somehow extrapolate the relationships we have as musicians to the larger society, we wouldn't have nearly the problems we have. For example, when I was in high school, they tried to kick me off the stage at the talent show because I had a black male singer in my band. So I got even with them, and we did a version of "Let's Spend the Night Together." Needless to say, it didn't work out all that well. But what I've found is that people who truly love music and love creativity never allow that kind of thing to come in between them and the music they love. It's always been either the people who have absolutely no power to change things, or people who don't come into the business for the love of music. They come into it for either the love of money or the love of fame or power, or all of the above. So I think the difficulty came in. Perhaps that was my surprise. I had dealt with other musicians and other people who loved music my whole time, and then all of a sudden I was up against the powers that be, who said, "I don't think so." So yeah, and I mean, that moment with Linda, by the way, was totally unexpected on my part. I never expected her to sing with me and to remember something we had done how long ago? 50 years ago? I mean, I couldn't even remember the lyrics. Yeah, the love is there, and even the people that turned me away were respectful of my work.
Amazing. It really shows you how much of it is just a business. It's not the people, it's the business side of it. Sydney, from the documentary, we seem to see that you live your life with so much gratitude. And you've had such a tremendous career. You've had incredible experiences. You lost your daughter, which you speak about, how your creativity for songwriting came back going through that horrific event. For those watching who are struggling with similar issues, what can you say that will help people deal with it with the same sense of gratitude?
Well, and thank you for having me. And I always hate following Diane. I just want to say right now. But thank you for the question. And the gratitude comes. Putting those two things together, the grief of losing my daughter and gratitude together in one paragraph is there's a big space kind of in between in terms of long-term gratitude. Of course, you can have it in moments. And I do, so creativity and inspiration really come from a lot of different places. And we get, as songwriters, a lot of inspiration from things that happen to us that aren't so great. And but my gratitude, I guess they're both so important, because without the inspiration and without the creativity and without the expression that we have as songwriters, I wouldn't have the gratitude that I have today, because my songwriting brought me, both in my early career and then after Jesse's death, brought me to a place where to process what I was going through, but also, more importantly, ultimately, it helped people. And so I think all of us, even though we may write for ourselves, or Bonnie and Diane and I all have different inspirations for writing, but mine are personal. And if I'm helping myself process something, but after that, it helps someone else, they identify, they can feel their feelings through my music, then it's really doubly good. And I am grateful. And I'm certainly grateful for TJ for having me in the film. And but life is long, and if you stick around long enough, like Diane, having gone through all of that early in her career, but she's here. We're all here. Bonnie wants to have a hit in a fourth decade.
Right.
We're all here, and we're all still doing it. And as TJ said, we are survivors.
Yay. Good one.
Yay!
Which was the name of my first single, by the way, in 1979.
All
Survivor.
good ones? All good ones? Wait, I didn't hear that one.
Another question for Sydney. And by the way, the reason I say gratitude also is to see somebody go through so much and have the most positive attitude. It's tremendous, and it's inspirational. And you've had such a tremendous career as well. I mean, working with other greats like Elton John, and there was this great moment in the film where you see the two of you captured almost by the paparazzi in a way, and there's a rumor that starts that the two of you are a couple. I mean,
Yeah.
and of the time, did you just kind of chuckle at that and let it ride out in the media, or what were your thoughts about that as it occurred?
First of all, let me tell you that Elton John is a beautiful man. He's a beautiful, generous, kind spirit, and we're still good friends today. Yes, we kind of let it let that moment ride. He invited me to England before a tour that I was on, and we flew on first class and got off, and he said, "There's gonna be paparazzi there, be prepared." And we got off, and he said, "Here, hold this," which was this big award he had just gotten. So there I am, and the flashing cameras. And yeah, we let it ride, but we were very close. We were close companions. We were not boyfriend and girlfriend, but we were companions for a while. He kind of took me under his wing. And yeah, those moments, and I'm now writing my memoir, and I actually just finished writing the chapters about my time with Elton. And boy, I look back at my career, like Diane, like Bonnie, working with people who we are inspired by, and who carry us forward. And it's just amazing looking back over my career. I mean, I'm like, really? That happened? So, wow, that's really cool, and I am fortunate. Let's put it right. I don't always have a positive attitude every single day, but boy, am I fortunate in this life. And Invisible, this film is another extension of that. We become a family, all of us in this film, all of the subjects, all 12, and TJ and Bill Brim, the producer and who had the idea, and others, the crew and so on. And we will carry this forward. We will carry this experience forward. And that's part of the gratitude that I have today.
If you don't mind my asking, when you transitioned in 2011, being someone who's a recording artist, having your voice on the soundtrack of Grease and having done so many records, did you think it would affect your voice going through the transition? And were you prepared to say goodbye to that voice that was so known?
Very good question. And the answer is yes, I was concerned. And not to get too technical, but when I decided to transition and go forward with the transition, because there was a whole, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this type thing? And when I decided to go forward and actually take testosterone, I decided to go on a very, very low dose. I've never done the dose that a 25-year-old would do anyway. It's a miracle that I have a mustache. Let's just put it that way. But hairless wasp family, but that's another story. But I was concerned, so I took a very low dose of testosterone for the first year or more because I wanted my voice. I was afraid, and I wanted my voice, if it was going to change slowly. And it took about a year and a half for the changes to come. And then there was a period of about a year where I didn't know where the notes were. And luckily, I had backed out of the business because I realized that I couldn't transition and stay performing and stay being out there in public just socially. It was difficult. I had to hide. I had to kind of go back and hide and just let myself have this change and become Sid from Cindy. And so luckily during that time when my voice was transitioning itself, I didn't have a lot of gigs. But when I did my first album in 2019 as Sid, which just came out a few months ago, I was surprised because I was like, oh, it's a new voice. I had done some gigs and stuff, but and to shorten it up, I actually like my voice much better now than I did. I'm much more playful now than I was as Cindy.
Well, I have to say, this has been such an incredible honor for me to speak with, my goodness, you four. As a fellow musician, to be speaking to people who've had such an instrumental effect in the music industry, you're all so incredibly, incredibly talented. And I'm so grateful that you have done so much amidst the tremendous opposition you've all had to go through with the music industry in Nashville. TJ, what a great idea for you to do this. A friend of mine, Leslie Cohen, said there is such a dearth of history written down of the LGBT culture, and particularly women. And if we don't write our stories, who will? And it will get lost. And and here you are doing it. So I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to speak with such a talented group. Oh, thank you. And TJ, thank you so much for doing this. It's just so wonderful. And thank you for bringing it to our festival, OUTshine in Fort Lauderdale. And I hope that we will be meeting with you guys at some point. Perhaps if you're all coming down here, you can let us know when your gigs will be and we can post them on our site.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you guys.
And thank you so much for featuring this film. And I want to thank TJ. I try to thank him often, but I'm going to thank him again today for bringing this to light and for bringing this incredible family together, because we weren't a family before and now we are.
It's been the privilege of my lifetime to spend this time with you all, and I love you all. And
love you too.
Well as well.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Thank
Diane.
you.
Thank you, Sydney. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Bonnie.
you very much.
So we're going to end with our trailer for this film, and we encourage everyone at home, please make sure you see it. And for those of you who are seeing it in the theater, you'll get to meet TJ in person. Thank you so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, I'll try. I did not want to move to Nashville and be a gay songwriter. I just wanted to be a songwriter. I loved what you were doing. The textures you were doing, I think, are great.
You know, I wasn't writing autobiographical songs.
Hiding was a part of life. Name the openly gay country artists in Nashville. Ready, go. That's a huge problem.
We weren't out as artists because we knew what that meant. We were scared.
Now that you're a woman, can you hold your own?
I don't think I ever regretted being out. I think I thought it would have been a lot easier to be heterosexual. Besides, I mean, come on. It's so obvious.
There's no getting this in the closet. There's just no closet big enough for this.
I mean, I can split wood like a lumberjack, you know. I mean, I just wanted a pair of khaki pants.
I mean, there was Mick Jagger and David Bowie and, you know, the androgynous men who were out there doing their thing, but there were no androgynous women.
Women didn't like to hear women. That's what they told me.
Of course women buy other women. Who do they think bought Loretta Lynn? Who do you think buys Emmylou Harris? I mean, come on.
It doesn't matter who you fall in love with, who breaks your heart.
Do you think you could love me? Do you even want to try?
A love song is a love song.
I really do think I've always known I was gay. It's no secret. But maybe it is. Maybe, you know, there are people out there who just, they don't know. But, surprise.
But I'm gonna live where the green grass grows, watch my corn pop up in the rows, every night be tucked in close to you.
Raise our kids where the good Lord's blessed.
Yeah, there's a huge number of gay women songwriters who don't get in front of an audience.
We were writing the songs for the, you know, for country radio songs. There was a lot of us. I don't know how many number ones I've had. Barbara Mandrell, Ronnie Millsap, Charlie Pride, so Willie Nelson single called There You Are. Oh, and Smoky Mountain Rain became the Tennessee State song.
It was wild to just turn on the radio and hear your song.
Ring on Our Finger, Time on Our Hands, which was our first single, and Dixie Road. Both number ones and all that stuff.
Reba McEntire, Martina McBride, Art Garfunkel.
Reba asked me to be in her band. My next gig was with Garth Brooks. And then that's when Mi Vida Loca became a hit.
I am so happy when I write a song I like. I swear to God, if somebody offered me $1 million for that great songwriting feeling, I am convinced I would take the song.
Wow.
I do feel like in the country music world there is a price, and there is a real strong pull to keep people quiet.
A lot of these people like to be known as the guy who will say it, who will stand up for Christian American family values.
Girl, what were you thinking? You know, the bottom line, hun, is sometimes we just don't feel what you feel. I mean, it's kind of like your song, Shut Up and Drive. Well, shut up and sing.
Like, you could tell he was committed to confronting me. He dug his heels in, and I'm pretty sure that, if I'm not mistaken, that's the guy that I think his daughter has come out since. Ain't life something?
Small town blues. Small town.
I don't care what people think anymore. This is about the music. And if you have a problem with it, then you don't listen to Ruthie Foster. I'm cool with that.